Today, we are launching Notabene Flow. And Notabene Flow is the first open stablecoin platform for businesses.
Traditional banking rails were then designed to really optimize for domestic rules and domestic payments, and not for the kind of fast global trade businesses need today.
Our vision that Alice and I had back in the day when we started Notabene, it was to bring crypto into the everyday economy. But it's not really easy to tie that into the real world. So to do that, we have to look at the business workflows that payments tie into. All of a sudden, this $120 trillion market is now ready and open for stablecoin payments. We are ready, we have the tooling for it. Notabene Flow builds on the existing ecosystem. It adds these new business flows that allows people to go in and build new, exciting products.
And starting this week, we're opening up Flow to our entire network of customers and partners.
My great pleasure to introduce Notabene's co-founders, Alice Nawfal and Pelle Braendgaard.
Hello.
And without further ado, I'll let them take it from here. Thanks, y'all.
Excellent. Yeah, Alice and I, we started Notabene 5 years ago, really with a vision that we wanted to get crypto and stablecoins, of course, they were still somewhat nascent back then, into the everyday economy. And that's really been a goal for us the entire time since we started this. And to do that, we looked at the new regulatory clarity that was coming and the new requirements coming and realized, well, we need to actually build Swift for crypto to be able to do that. We have done that. We're really processing a significant amount of transactions every day, close to 5 billion at the moment. We're very, very proud of that. Thank you. I also say that it's not our software that does this. Our software helps companies around the world, and we have 40-ish, someone. It's growing, so I'm never quite sure what the number is nowadays. But companies that are transacting in real time on top of our platform. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Before you saw the team demonstrate Transact, which is the tool that compliance officers use, our embedded component that has really been helping so many companies throughout, particularly Europe, who had to all of a sudden deal with these new requirements overnight. The work on blockchain for Notabene for blockchains, TAP, our Transaction Authorization Protocol, that you may hear a little bit more about as well, and institutional due diligence, agentic DD. So with that, I'd like to actually start introducing what the next thing that we're working on, which is, we're going from being Swift for crypto to let's just be a better Swift, right? Stablecoins is a better settlement network. Let's just do it. Let's just build together with the network, with a bunch of companies, amazing companies that we're working with. Let's build a better Swift.
Thank you, Pelle. Well, before we share more about what we're building, I wanted to take us a little bit, zoom out, talk a little bit about how global business payments work today. Let's think of a simple cross-border use case. A clothing manufacturer based in Portugal buying fabric from a Turkish supplier. The payment flow looks straightforward, right? Well, in reality, it's a little bit more complex. Let's unpack this further. Today's global economy was stitched across local payment systems that were never really built to work seamlessly across borders. And traditional banking rails were then designed to really optimize for domestic rules and domestic payments, and not for the kind of fast global trade businesses need today. And to solve for this fragmentation, we had the emergence of the concept of correspondent banks to be able to move money across borders. In practice, this means that we looked at the different gaps and we patched it by adding intermediaries. And while this allowed cross-border payments to happen, it came at a significant cost of complexity and inefficiency. So with each extra bank in the chain, the process has become slower, more expensive, and harder to manage. On average, in this example, we have, 5 intermediaries and 6 Swift messages. Transfer costs across the Swift network are not too low, $40 to $120. But the real costs come from operational and compliance heavy lifting that each intermediary or middle bank in here has to do to transact with one another. And then add to this a messaging system that's both opaque and slow. And where do we end up? With payments that can take 3 or more days or sometimes fail entirely. And now if we zoom out, at a global scale, these frictions add up to hundreds of billions of dollars every year in unnecessary costs, lost productivity, and foregone transaction volumes. So, what's the solution? Well, I think we all know the answer, right? Stablecoins. Stablecoins are indeed promising instant money transfers that skip borders and skip the middlemen. And with more than $3 trillion moving through stablecoins every month at the moment, and we all know that's growing fast, it does feel like the future is already here. And if you see this chart here, you may have to squint, but I can tell you what it shows. It's essentially the growth of B2B payments today that are happening on stablecoin rails. And back in February, when this report was published, it was around 3 billion monthly, annualized to 36 billion. It's growing fast, right? But if we do zoom out, and Pelle, if you can just do one more click, thank you for the animation. If we do zoom out to the $120 trillion B2B payment markets, stablecoins have barely made a dent. And why is this? The problem isn't technical, but it is operational. If you think back to the Portugal-Turkey example, that one payment had to be reconciled across 4 systems, the accounting ledgers of both companies and the processors on each side. While stablecoins made the transfer instant, they don't fix the messy reconciliation behind it. And businesses are still stuck with manual steps, custom integrations, and compliance overhead that feels a lot like the old rails. And worse, if we're not careful, we're going to recreate the same inefficiencies that we're trying to escape. So with this, let me pass it back to Pelle so he can unpack further.
Thanks a lot, Alice. So I think we can all agree that stablecoins and blockchains are fantastic. I'd say someone who has worked in banking in the good old days, and I have been working with SWIFT and reconciliation of SWIFT, well, all of these back office systems that happen in banks with payments. Stablecoins, blockchains are amazing. They're really an order of magnitude better than the settlement systems that we had in the past. But for B2B payments to actually take off, we need to work on more than just the money movement part of it. And I think this is where a lot of companies in crypto have been mainly focused on the money movement part of it. And that's great. We're great at doing that in crypto. There's a lot of fantastic companies that do a fantastic job at that. But the hardest part of it is for B2B payments actually to be useful, we need to tie them into the real world. So if you remember our vision that Alice and I had back in the day when we started Notabene, it was to bring crypto into the everyday economy. Well, crypto transaction with a transaction hash and a destination blockchain address, it's great. It's a great technical detail, but it's not really easy to tie that into the real world. So to do that, we have to look at the business workflows that payments tie into. There's a lot of ways that companies do that today. Look, I'm not going to say Swift is fantastic at it. That's also why, let's just take on Swift on this particular, on this front here. But Swift does provide context. There's a lot of people that think, the context is a memo field. And a memo field, that's great, because we can't really put a memo field on a blockchain right now. But it's more than that. It's the context about who initiated the transaction, like who's the beneficiary, all of those details, which also happens to be the travel rule information. That's actually the context that's needed to be able to tie stablecoin transactions into B2B workflows. But that's also just the context. Stablecoins, like SWIFT, are push, meaning that it's the sender that initiates a transaction. One of the ways that you do automated transactions for B2B purposes today is through pull transactions. These are the kind of transactions, whether it's recurring billing, agentic billing, subscriptions, metered billing, payments that are tied directly to supply chain workflows, et cetera, et cetera. This is very key for us to work through because this is how the world works. They have to be operational. It's real time. It's real scale. And to do that, you need what payment companies tend to call pull payments, which is a transaction that's initiated by the beneficiary. And pull payments are completely impossible in stablecoins, right? And they are impossible when we talk about at the blockchain level. But to do it, you need a real-time authorization flow. You need trust and the additional context as well. And to do that, you can actually start enabling these use cases that we haven't really been able to do in the industry so far, like subscription billing, marketplace payments, metered billing, agentic payments, etc. And these have to be useful for the businesses to use it to be able to really create B2B payments. So what's missing? It's, talked about it before, it's context, there's trust, and there is authorization. And you know what? Notabene has already built this. And hundreds of companies are transacting, performing real-time authorizations today on our platform. We have an authorization layer in Transact, which again is already used and is installed, and hundreds of companies and thousands of compliance officers are trained in actually how to operate this at scale. We have our context layer, the messaging layer TAP, which again it's equivalent to ISO 20022 for SWIFT payments, provides all the context needed. And then we have really what I think is actually one of the most important part is this network. It's the trust layer. It's all the companies that are in there, all the companies that have compliance teams, that have risk processes in place, that have installed and set up, created these authorization flows within their product today. Without that, we could launch software and it wouldn't do anything. And that's really the power of what we built in Notabene together with all of our customers and partners. So today, we are launching Notabene Flow. And Notabene Flow is the first open stablecoin platform for businesses. We're launching it together with a large set of founding partners. And these founding partners, several of them are here today, and it's been great. If I haven't met you all before in person, and some of you have, but it's great that a lot of you are able to come here today. But we have great founding partners from all over the world. And through these founding partners, we've really spent a lot of time talking with them, listening to them, hearing the problems, and looking at the opportunities together. And that's also actually exactly how we built out Notabene Transact 5 years ago. We started actually talking with compliance teams, listening to teams, and that's what we're doing now with Notabene Flow. And the outcome of this is now all of a sudden this $120 trillion market that Alice was talking about is now ready and open for stablecoin payments. We are ready, we have the tooling for it. Is this going to happen overnight? No. But we have the structure now, we have the network, we have the flows, the workflows, the context, the technology, the regulatory knowledge to be able to do this. So this allows businesses to be able to do quite a few things using stablecoins. I'm not going to go into all of these, but being able to do agentic payments, metered payments, tie payments directly into account receivable or account payable flow is very important. And it's very difficult to do with stablecoins today. Is also somewhat difficult to do it with SWIFT payments. The other thing that we learned is stablecoin operations at scale is hard, just like travel rule is hard. Building up compliance, learning about all the technology is hard. Unfortunately, a lot of companies that have done this, and there's some great companies that have built up absolutely fabulous products on top of stablecoins. But unfortunately, because of the lack of network, in many cases, to be able to implement the infamous or famous, if you will, the famous fiat stablecoin sandwich, in many cases, they've had to build up essentially the equivalent of a correspondent banking system. There's one of the learnings that we've heard from people is the amount of bilateral agreements they have to do, pre-funding, technical integrations all over the place. It's complex. It looks easy when you go to one of these fantastic companies' websites and say, oh, move money around the world. The amount of work they've had to go in and put into that is absolutely incredible. We're going to try to make it a lot easier for them in the future to do that as well. The other aspect that we hear is, well, if I'm performing B2B payments, now I need to do KYB on the beneficiary. If I'm sending funds, I need to know who the beneficiary is. Well, you don't actually have to do that in the SWIFT network. You don't have to do that with a Visa or a traditional payment transaction. And the reason for it is because of the travel rule. The travel rule gives you, if you trust the institution on the other side, you can go in and believe and trust that they have done their job on that particular front. That's one of these superpowers that the travel rule gives you, and also how we enable these kinds of flows going forward. So Notabene Flow builds on the existing ecosystem. We already talked about Transact and Tap and the network, but Flow just sits at a layer on top of it. It adds these new business flows that allows people to go in and build new, exciting products that we can go in and go directly after the traditional payment world and the traditional B2B payments. I'm very, very excited by this. This is really why I got into crypto in the first place 15 years ago, and I'm so excited that we can actually do this now. And for partners, Notabene delivers, obviously, it sits on the core of Transact, of compliance. It allows you to really do the compliance part in a much easier way. One aspect for compliance teams that they're going to be excited by is that we expect to be able to get close to 100% straight-through processing rate, which is very, very difficult to do, both with SWIFT and with stablecoin transactions today. That, from an operational burden, is going to be a lot easier. We also hope to be able to eliminate most bilateral agreements. There will still be some needed for fiat integrations, but you don't have to build these connections all over the world now, because there's an open network that you can do that with. And open is good for business. We are in this for crypto should be open, stablecoin should be open, payments should be open, and we're very excited by this. So we will also demonstrate more of this at the demo stations, but we have here, this is probably a little bit hard to see, but we have a way of setting up a recurring payment, and a recurring payment is essentially a connection that can be authorized by people within the business for ongoing recurring billing, whether it's a simple thing as a subscription payment or it's an agentic payment where you as a business, you want to interact with agentic commerce tools or trading tools, you can have them, you can go in and manage the risk as a business to be able to do these kinds of payments. And this is really exciting because it's not just a copy of what happens in traditional payments. It's better. It's far better. And this allows us to also eliminate whole classes of fraud. Within Flow, and again, we have 12 partners who are already integrated on the testnet. You can select the different partners, so you can connect them and have an ongoing connection for business payments afterwards. So our Notabene Flow testnet is already live with our founding partners, and I also encourage you to, if you speak with anyone here who are in the network, just ask them about it as well, and we're looking to have more companies join up as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pelle, for sharing about Notabene Flow. We are, as you can see, very, very excited. Finally, building on the vision that has kept us going for the last 5 years. And so now it's your turn. So as Pelle mentioned, Flow is already live in testnet, and many of our founding partners are already integrated. And now it's your turn. Our APIs are ready, the docs are up, and if you want to see it in action, we're going to have demo stations there, or you know where to reach us. And starting this week, we're opening up Flow to our entire network of customers and partners, and to all of you here as well today. So this is the moment we're taking stablecoin payments from promise to reality, B2B stablecoin payments. And in closing, we've built an infrastructure that unlocks the full potential of stablecoins here for business payments. But now it's really time to put it to work. So let's collaborate to launch new use cases and payment flows. So thank you.